So since the weather is kind of overcast today and it feels like fall, I'm in the mood for baking. And know what you're thinking. You see this box cake mix and you're like, wait a second, that's not healthy. You're right, it's not healthy. But there are times when, I'm not perfect, nor are you, and we want to eat something. We don't want it to necessarily be a super healthy snack. We want to feel like we're indulging in something. So here's something that you can make that you're indulging in, but you're modifying it so it is a little healthy. And what I do, rather than using oil like the recipe calls for, I'm going to use either one of two things. You can use applesauce, and if you buy your applesauce like this is great because they're individually packaged, and you only need a little bit. Like in this case, this recipe calls for a third cup. That's about a third cup. You'll measure it to make sure. Or you can use pumpkin, and pumpkin is my first choice because even though the flavor's strong, this is a yellow cake mix, so I'm going to turn this yellow cake mix into a spice cake. And since it's October, it feels very fallish in California, and it's going to give it a nice flavor. So I'm going to use this pumpkin, and then I'm going to add some cinnamon, and it's going to be oh so tasty. So I'll show you how that all comes together. So this has been mixed in pretty well now, and I'm just going to add a little bit of cinnamon to it just to give it a little nice spice, and blend that, and then I'm going to put it in the prepared pan. So here's my pan that I've greased, and I put a little flour in it, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push the flour throughout the pan like this, so that it coats the pan. And the reason why I do that is if you've ever made a bundt cake, if you don't do this, sometimes your cake doesn't release. So this is a nice way of ensuring that it releases. So grease your pan up really nicely and then pour some flour in there, and then you're going to just dump out the excess. Okay, so here's my pan that's been dusted after I greased and I floured it, and now I'm going to take my cake batter and I'm just going to simply pour it in the pan. And it doesn't have to be perfectly dusted and greased, because remember, there's no such thing as perfect. But you get the point, right? Oh, you could see where I didn't mix in the cinnamon very well, but okay, someone will get an extra ribbon of cinnamon. Hey, lucky for us, I recruited my nephew to film. So anyhow, thanks Michael for filming. What I wanted to tell you was, you may be thinking, okay, that's a great tip to make the spice cake using pumpkin to substitute for fat, but I hardly used any of the pumpkin. You're probably thinking, what a waste. Well, it doesn't have to be wasteful, because you know how much I hate wasting money. So what you're going to do instead is measure it out in 1/3 cups, and then put them in baggies and freeze these things. And pumpkin will freeze nicely, and that way you can do my favorite, grab and go, and then you can just use the pumpkin that way. Thanks. Okay, so the cake has been cooled, and what I like to do is very carefully run a knife around the edge of the pan, okay? And then what I like to do is I'll take a piece of parchment paper. You don't have to use parchment paper. You could use paper towel, and I have a cutting board here. Or you could use a plate, and I'm just going to invert it, and I'm going to flip it over. Did you see that? Like that. And then hit it a little bit, and hopefully it'll come out. Not bad. Ta-da! Okay, so we're going to cut it and plate it. Okay, so took a piece. Now, what's great about this cake is it's light, it's moist, and I'm going to try it. Very good. With some ice cream, you could make a little frosting, like a glaze. It'd be excellent. I like it like this just because I'm trying to reduce calories.